I remember when that first started happening. Everybody was like, "Oh no, you're recording now."
Mood.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Oh fuck. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Yo, how y'all doing? This Duante Barnett. I finally woke the fuck up. Hey!
It's about time.
Oh, whatever. Trevor doesn't have any black friends. You got to get used to this, Trevor.
I got black friends.
He sounded like a white Obama when he did. I have black friends. But we've been working our asses off. We're running a little bit late. We're here though. We're here. We're finally woke up. We got our shit together. We're awake. Good morning. Welcome to Autastic Artists 29 or 28, I think. I don't know. We've done a shit ton of these. I think we missed the last one, so this will bump us back to 28. But welcome to Autastic Artists 28. We've got a great show tonight. We've got a real actor. I say that because I try to act. And it's not easy. You know, anybody could say they're an actor, anybody can do auditions, but are you actually getting jobs? So today we'll talk to Trevor. He's the no pressure. Trevor's like, I never said I got a job either. Hold on. Back up. But we have our usual co-host today. Give it up for the potato chip enthusiast.
Hooray! It's me.
Who says that? Broccoli. We haven't
And
seen
it's
broccoli in a while.
Broccoli, our favorite dinosaur. He is here. He's blending in with the background a little bit because he's green. But that's how it is.
I was waiting for you to say he's here, he's queer, and
No, that's me. I'm here and queer and ready to party. He's just doing what he do.
You're like, no, that's me. I'm the one.
Mm-hmm.
And give it up for our guest today. Give it up for Trevor. I believe it's Gumbel, like Brian Gumbel, right?
Yes, like Brian Gumbel, yeah.
I'm sorry, as a black guy, that's my reference on Gumbel. Like that's
everybody's reference on Gumbel, to be honest with you. I think there might be other Gumbels in the world, but no, he's pretty much the standard.
He's the guy. He's your Gumbel. Like
yeah.
I can't complain. I'm the famous Barnett. I mean, there used to be a Fred Barnett. Do you know anything about football? There used to be a Fred Barnett that played football.
I know nothing about football. I am not a football guy whatsoever.
What the fuck, bro? Like, what?
Yeah, I never got into it. I never did.
No way.
Never did. I mean, people are into football. I was into film and theater and music and all that shit. I wanted to, it was too much work. I mean,
there's no lie detected here.
Yeah, I just always found football kind of boring. It was never my sport. Plus, the fans are insane.
Oh yeah, the fandom's a little wild.
Yeah.
Have you been to one of these? What is it? The
tailgate?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, don't do tailgates. I'm not a very social, especially with people I don't know. Like, if you put me in a situation where I'm forced to talk to people I am not familiar with, it is a recipe for disaster. You know, I have to choose to be in that situation, and I would never choose to attend a tailgate. Like, even with the Super Bowl, the only reason I would watch it would be for the commercials. Like, I could care less about the game unless the Seahawks were playing, and that's not very often.
You got some of my love back. You said the Seahawks, so I'll let you slide. Let's let everybody here at Autastic Artists. We interview entertainers that are on the spectrum, which means you are on the spectrum in some sort of fashion. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do before we actually get to why you're on here, if that makes any sense. So you're an actor, Trevor. How long you been acting? Tell us a little bit about you. So,
actor kind of. Actually, I didn't really get much into acting till I was like in my 20s. And, I've been always just always looking for work, always looking for a job, whether it be a short film or independent, like community theater production. I'm always looking for that next thing. It's an antidepressant for me. So the more I can find work, the more I'm
How long have
I'm
you been
happy.
acting?
Probably over 20 years.
I was gonna say you said since your 20s, and I was like, what are you, like 31?
No,
Like,
I'm 43.
oh shit.
Yeah.
I'm the young guy this time, Janejira. You can kiss
Plot twist.
me.
I
Usually
thought
Dante's the ancient old man over here.
you judge Jerry, you know my age, right?
No, it's been so long. For background for everybody who don't know, I met Trevor because I was in film school and one of my best friends in class was making a comedy that takes place at a Buddhist temple. It's about kind of an unhinged monk. It's a whole thing. I don't know how to describe it. It's very funny. But we were like we were learning how to hold auditions and stuff, so we like cast people, and then Trevor played the main guy who's just a construction worker, but everything is just falling apart in his life. And then yeah, that's how we met. And then we like stayed in contact, and then Dante was like, I need some more guests. Where are all the guests? And then Trevor was like, yo, so it turns out I'm autistic. And I was like, hey, you want to be on a podcast, bro? And that's here we are now.
Yeah. Us neurodivergents tend to attract each other.
The other day I was telling my friend, I was like, everyone who vibes with me is autistic. And he's like, yeah. And then he was like, wait a minute. What does that make me? And I was like, I don't know. You tell me.
You made it to talk to someone.
I can't with you. It's funny you say that because that's how we found out I was autistic. Because our original co-host added to the pot and was like, "Yeah, me and Dante went to school together, and he's autistic." And I was like, "What do you mean I'm autistic? Is that what I thought you knew? You've been kind of special ever since I've known you." And I was like, "Hey, that's nice."
I was diagnosed pretty late in life. I diagnosed when I was 41. Because I'd always suspected something. So, I mean, I talked to my therapist. I'm like, I think I might be. And they said, well, they can't do the assessment. They sent me to a whole different clinic to talk to this woman who I'd never met before. And so I talked to her, and I don't really remember much about the test or whatever you call it. They have you do like math problems and like picture problems or whatever.
Ew.
Yeah. So, I mean, there were 2 appointments. I had 2 appointments with her. Then the third time I talked to her, she was telling me what the results were. And the results were that I was high functioning autistic, and what they used to call Asperger's, but they don't anymore. And I learned that actually after I got diagnosed. I'm like, wait, they don't call it that anymore? Oh, apparently he was into not euthanizing, sterilization, or no, what do you call it, Janejira? He wanted to create like perfect, what was it called?
Is it Nazi?
Eugenics.
Yeah, eugenics.
Eugenics.
Yeah,
apparently Asperger was very much into eugenics, so we're not using his name anymore, and we're also not using the puzzle piece as the there's a lot of things there's a lot of things I learned after being diagnosed. Sure. Like, I realized Autism Speaks is a terrible organization.
They do not speak for us, that's for sure.
Yeah, so
as they say on TikTok, they want us unalived.
Whoa.
Yeah, they're pretty terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you know much. You know who Sia is, right?
Oh my gosh, I can vent for like 3 hours
about music,
about the whole thing. and how that all went down and how it was just so wrong. And then it also feels weird to just like hear Sia's music at work because it's like I get that they don't know, but I know and I'm offended, you know?
Yeah, it was like I love Sia's music. I think she's incredibly talented.
Yeah, she could.
But
I
then,
would prefer that she
Hold on.
stayed in her
Time out.
lane
Time
as
out.
a musician.
I don't know what in the fuck you guys
okay,
are talking about, so
so
I'll
the artist
tell
Sia,
everybody.
the artist, you've heard of Sia, right? She did Chandelier and all that stuff.
No, but
I want to swing from
From
the
the
chandelier.
chandelier.
okay, I've heard that. I've heard
Anyway,
Yeah.
that.
so she wrote and directed a movie called Music, and it's about this woman taking care of her autistic sister. And the first strike was that she cast a non-autistic person in the autistic role.
Because she said, like on Twitter and in interviews and stuff, and she's like, well, it was really hard finding an autistic person. And we did find one, but everything was too overwhelming for them. And it's like, yeah, because you
So
didn't actually accommodate them.
so she just goes with the actor she puts in all music videos and calls it a day. And the film, she used the organization Autism Speaks as consultants on the film.
Yeah.
Not knowing that they are terrible people who. So, and it was just a clusterfuck from beginning to end. And the portrayal of autistic people in the film is offensive from what I've seen. Maddie Ziegler just seems to play it the most stereotypically Oscar baity looking, when someone trying for an Oscar, when they play mentally challenged or autistic, that's how she was playing it. And it was kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
And there's a scene in the film where they have to restrain her. And apparently they weren't doing it the correct way in the film.
Yeah.
And that pissed a lot of people off.
It also
And
ended up killing somebody because a mom who, like, didn't know anything about how to care for an autistic child, they saw the movie and they were like, okay, when the kid, like, has a meltdown, you hold them down to the point they can't breathe. And then the kid died. And they were like, oh, that didn't go so well. And it's like, yeah, because that's not what you do.
yeah, I mean.
So it sounds like they did a training on autistic people, similar to how they treat black people. Is that what I'm hearing? I mean, it sounds like George Floyd reenactment.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Children. I'm not laughing, but on the inside, I was like, hold on, so you're telling me.
I mean, a lot of people think, the lower functioning autistics, the ones who are more severe on the spectrum, they feel that to get control of them, they have to restrain them, like literally hold them down. Which I'm not.
That's the problem. Is I don't think people are right in that diagnosis or that
There's
idea.
still, yeah, but there's still a lot to learn about
the people I know. So I've worked in special education, right?
I was in special education.
So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would say most autistic people, and I wouldn't say lower functioning or higher functioning.
Mm-hmm.
Most autistic people do not need restraint.
Yeah.
I don't care how severe their autism is. So the spreading of that idea that highly functional or low functional, that was the problem with that language, is there's no high functional or low functional, because people who are severely autistic, that's not their only what's the word, diagnoses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you've got a kid with TBI and they blame it on the Asperger's or the autism that he's that way. No, he's got a traumatic brain injury. And he's also ADD, ODD. And ODD is obsessive defiant disorder, right? Where he's not going to do whatever you want. So it doesn't have to do with the autism that makes him so defiant. It's his ODD combined with his ADD.
Yeah, and there were a lot of those at the
Right.
special. I went to a special education school from 12 to 14. And, I saw a lot of that. And, that school did do, even the non-autistic children in that school, they would restrain if they got out of control. Or if they got violent.
And I hate to say this to you, It sounds like whew, there's no easy way to say this one. Sounds like they're treating autistic kids like black people. Because I can tell you for the whole 80s and 90s and 70s. So we did, and then just to enlighten you, Trevor, I did a panel called the Black Autists of Seattle. Janejira knows about this. I got interviewed by I think the dude's name's Trevor as well, goddamn
Hey.
it. From the King County Autism Resource Center, right?
Yeah.
So they got all these black people together that were between about 35 and 45. So we're all in the same age bracket. And they're like, tell us a little bit about yourself and your diagnoses. First person goes up. They, and I don't mean that loosely, I mean they, as in they identified as LGBTQ. They were like, yeah, I went through school and I used to get sent to the portable and boiler rooms, and I never got a chance to really enjoy school, and I was bullied by my teachers, and that's how I spent my whole elementary and middle school. Most of it.
Yeah.
Next person went up, same thing.
Well,
I got sent to portable classes. I got sent to this. I got sent to that. And then the next kid, same thing. And then me, same thing. And it was like, what's the common denominator here? They're sending us all to portables and not giving us any, and they're restraining us, and you know what I mean? All these things.
I mean, when I was growing up, high functioning autism wasn't really understood or that well known. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like a diagnosis people really knew much about or even knew about. So, I mean, when I was going to school or when I was talking to therapists when I was younger, none of them ever mentioned your child might be, high functioning or autistic or something like that. They would just chalk it up to behavioral issues, which I probably did have, but they, you when you're diagnosed later in life, you wonder if it would have been different had you known earlier.
Well, see, I think that's the one I'm kind of getting at, is I think we were diagnosed. I think there was something in that chart. You can't tell me all these black kids across the nation and in the country are going to, portable classes and we're getting bussed out of school and there's nothing wrong with you.
No,
I'm not
saying that. No, yeah.
Right. And or the parents aren't accepting the diagnoses, or they're not wanting to diagnose for the treatment, or however you put it. And I think that's where, like you said, we try not to use the word low functioning, high functioning, because who draws that line, right? Like where is the line in the sand?
Yeah.
And are most people who you want to classify as low or high functioning, what's the difference? Is there a difference in multiple diagnoses? Is there a difference in upbringing? Is there a difference in crutch? Are they now using it? Because I remember there were a lot of these kids when we were kids that you're like, there's nothing fucking wrong with you, Johnny. You're just choosing to be a prick.
Yeah.
See it, right?
Yeah.
Like you see them abuse the system, and they like, I don't know if you're old enough, so you probably got the risk reward program where if you don't do this, you get this, and if you act good all day, Johnny, we give you a star, and if you get 5 stars, you get a Coca-Cola, right? And all these inappropriate things you'd get.
Well, when I was at the special ed in this was back in North Chicago, Zion, Illinois, there was a point system. And
hold on, I just want to note I'm in Seattle and he's in Chicago, and I already knew he's going to say something.
No, I'm not in Chicago. I'm in Seattle.
But you said you're raised in Chicago, right?
I was raised all over the country. My father was in the Navy, but his last station was in Chicago because he was retiring after that. So I went to school at this place called Gage's Lake, and they had a point system. And you could earn points by, doing your work or doing something exceptional. And you could use your points to buy like, treats, candy, sometimes people would bring in stuff they don't need anymore, and you could use your points to buy like old records and stuff like that. Yeah, it was a point system. and it was and when it came to like punishments, if you were, you know, misbehaving or getting out of line, you know, first they would give you a warning, then they would send you to this room, this office that had 3 rooms. The first room was like, I think it was like padded. It was a room that you went in to calm down, and they wouldn't let you out until you calmed down.
Yep.
And they put, I forgot what the second room does. I think the second room you talk to a teacher to talk about what you did wrong, you know, what, you know, how you can not do that in the future, stuff like that. I forgot what the third room was, but you end up going back to the teacher that you were misbehaving in front of, and you make this whole speech about, can I, you know, I'm sorry I did this, blah, 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 blah. May I come back to class? And that would be the end of it. And you would get points taken away sometimes, I think.
And
this was,
go ahead.
Bear in mind, this was like 30 years ago, so my memory might be a little.
You know, I hated this system, and do you know why? I sat there as it feels like child penitentiary, right? It feels like exactly.
Not entirely. I mean, there was a lot of. I met a lot of great people there, and the teachers I had, at least, were very, very sweet. It wasn't like they were. It wasn't like I was in a prison camp or anything like this. It was. I think it was just their way of trying to handle the situation.
And I'm not disagreeing with you, but I've seen it. I've how do I put this? It's so there's a show called, and you're not athlete in this sense, but there's a show called fuck, I can't think of the name right now. Of course, it talks about high school athletes, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's they covered college basketball this past season, right? And they've done 2 years of basketball. Fuck. Last Chance University. There we go. There's the name of it. It's called Last Chance University. And the idea is it covers college, community college sports. Started with football. They did like 6 seasons, and they started doing basketball. And so this basketball coach is having a problem with this dude, and he's just lazy, and his energy levels up and down, and his emotional intelligence isn't there. And I could tell after like an episode or two, I was like, this kid's probably autistic. You can just I can just tell, right?
Yeah.
And so the coach is like, I think a good 7 or 8 weeks into the basketball season. There's only 16 weeks of the season, right?
Uh-huh.
And he calls the old coach of the kid, and he goes, well, don't you know DeAndre's autistic? And the coach goes, what? No, I didn't. So the reason why I say it's kind of like a prison is you have these adults, right?
Uh-huh.
In charge of kids. And when I say in charge of kids, I mean literally in charge of kids, doing a pluses and minus program, right? With punishments based upon their opinions on kids, right? Like children. We're not talking adults, right?
No.
So it's one of those where I've seen this system, and maybe not in your case, right?
Uh-huh.
But I've seen it a lot where a kid just, they don't like him anymore. And every time Michael opens his, and I saw you, well, I mean, he's been bad. No, that is like prison. You have people in charge of you that form an opinion on you, and then they're in control of how you get punished, how you get succeed, right?
Yeah.
And then you're in a system where you don't get to leave, right? And
well, I mean, there was an option to leave. You had to do well enough in there to make it to a level. There were levels, and the final level is where you could go back to regular school.
But you see here who controls those levels. You get what I mean? Like,
I get what you mean. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
you making it sound like there was.
Like if you act good and you listen to the guards, you graduate to the next program. That's what you just said to me, Trevor.
Yeah, but no. But it wasn't that harsh. This was.
You say that, right? But you're not hearing me. You're one of the kids that acted good, right?
I was a prick sometimes. I could tell you.
I get that, but you're not hearing me. If there's somebody who decides if you act good or not, there's somebody in control of your and I know you're like, well, we've got to have.
Well, it's not like I gave them. It's not like I gave them the gray area. You know, it was.
There is.
Yeah.
And there's got to be that succession. You can't say no. There's not. There is a gray area, and that's why it's. I think it's hard for a lot of people to deal with these topics, because depending on where you're at on the situation, you may not agree. You're like, nah, they were bad, and I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, maybe Oscar's just an asshole every day because he doesn't like Becky, and the way he expresses that is being ODD, which is obsessive compulsive or obsessive defiant, right? And 25 years ago, they didn't have an idea what that was, so they didn't give a shit or give it Jose any accommodations.
Well, I mean, even 30 years ago, I mean, they were, you know, like I said, they didn't even. I hadn't even heard the term, you know, but we were connected to another school called Laremont, which had the handicapped, the mentally handicapped, and all that stuff. And one of the one of the classes we would go over to Laremont and help them with the handicapped kids. No. It was a good experience. It actually was. You know, I ended up doing the same thing when I got to high school. I think it was meant to teach you patience, or empathy. So.
That was the one that killed me. Is a lot of people when I think that's the stigma, or that's the problem with autism, is everybody thinks in back to school of us being in the same school, right? He you know what I mean? Like I remember, and I tell this story jokingly, but it's true. I that half day stuff, right? I'd get picked up in the little portable, the handicap bus, the little short bus for my half day.
Yeah.
Right? And so they'd be picking me up, and this large overgrown kid, because I've been almost 6 foot since I was 11, in a handicap special bus to go do half my days at the Stepping Stone program or whatever it was. And so you're now labeled as the mentally handicapped kid. Right?
Yeah. I mean,
and that's,
I never had that experience.
I think that's, well, I mean, you didn't. So how many normal kids saw you going to school with these other kids and felt a certain way?
Go ahead.
But
define normal.
But again, I love how you're fighting it. You're like, yeah, but define normal. But so yes, you know what I'm talking about. Then don't hide it, right? Like there's truth to that. If you're telling me, well, define normal. The kids that aren't going to school that's special or has a special what's the word, designation, right? So that's where I find we've been, I don't know, we tried to separate from them and then not include, and I don't know, it gets into the sticky area. Well, let me ask you, as far as acting, has the autism affected your acting or how you get along, or do you feel like it is something that causes you any conflict while you're doing your acting?
I mean, when it comes to acting, it's a lot of it has to do with eye contact and touch, which is uncomfortable for me, because like if I'm doing a scene where I have to, especially if it's a more intimate type of touching, I tend to get a little more nervous. Or if I have to make eye contact with the person, it's a little harder. Like there was a show that I ended up quitting because I was not getting along with the woman who was playing my wife in the show. And
hold on, stop. That's called real life.
Yeah, that's real life. It's what happens.
We want to quit on our wives all the time. I'm divorced.
No, well, I mean, like,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It was like, I thought she was being difficult, and, I was like, I'm out of here. I'm fucking done, So, and, and good thing, because, there were scenes where I had to, the director actually had to, before this happened, he took both of us aside, and he was noticing that I was uncomfortable touching, or putting my hands on her. So he had to literally take us aside and like take the person's hand and put it where it's all like, okay, I'm done with this shit. But I was thinking to myself, I realized like that's something I'm gonna have to get used to. I'm gonna want to keep doing this because it's gonna come up again. It's what's that?
I have the exact opposite problem. Every time, so I've done like 4 or 5 modeling gigs and an acting gig. And for me, I feel like every time I get a new gig, I fall in love all over again. I'm staring at them for the whole shoot. And we're
Well,
eyes.
it was easy not to with this person because she was a nightmare for me, at least. Like I was trying to connect with her on a friendly level and she was not giving me anything to work with. So
what's the whole word you would say? It's a vibe and it just wasn't happening.
It wasn't
there was
a
not
vibe.
it was just not happening. And I just had to kind of let it go. And
I think that's the hardest part. I think when you model and you act, like I said, I've got a little bit. I'm not. I don't know if I'm easy to get along with or I'm easy on the eyes, right?
Well, I can tell you right now, I'm on the fence.
Roasted.
I wasn't turning it on for you today, Trevor. I'm sorry. I didn't know I had a chance with you, buddy. Now that I know that, maybe I'll try a little harder, right?
Next time he's gonna like wear his suit and like do his hair all pretty and be like, "Hey, guests, how's it going? I'm
me or him?
me. I'm gonna try to talk the next one, right? But
well, yeah,
it's one of those where I felt like, I guess that's the hard part about acting, right? Is there's been a couple of these women where I really haven't liked them. And like you said, I had to choose to, and I guess I've been forced to turn that button on at a very young age. And maybe it goes back to having to figure out how to get past that teacher in school. I got to make Jennifer think I'm a good kid, even though I don't like this bitch, in order to get out of class. Get back to
and but sometimes, like me, one of my bad things is my emotions get it out of the way when it comes to like not getting along with someone. Sometimes my emotions will get the best of me and I'll just have a complete like meltdown, and that kind of burns bridges too.
I can only imagine, especially in this director actor dynamic where you've got to follow my direction. I'm in charge of the creativity here. You're gonna do what I say. You're just
it also gets to a point where sometimes, like, I'm the kind of person who tries too hard to be accepted and liked by people that it ends up doing the complete opposite of what it's supposed to do. That was my problem in community college when I went to Shoreline. Like, I tried so hard to, in the theater classes, be, that it ended up just alienating me. I think, there wasn't that many people who were on my side. And when I was going to school for theater, it was before I was diagnosed. So I wasn't completely understanding why my emotions were getting the best of me in a lot of situations. So, that ended up like costing me a lot, and ended up making people believe things that were not true based on my reactions to things. Like,
so if I'm hearing this right, and I want to make sure I'm hearing this right, it sounds like people were gaslighting you to get a reaction.
No, I don't think so.
It is that look, Janejira is shaking her head. That's what gaslighting is. When people try to use reality to get a reaction out of you, and then use that reaction out of you to negatively affect you, you're being gaslighted. Am I wrong here, Janejira?
That is how gaslighting works.
Yes. Sorry, I had an epiphany. Trevor's like, no. I'm like, no, buddy. We're old, but I think that's what the term's for. You're originally being gaslit, right? Am I wrong, Jane?
I know gaslighting because like that's just like my whole life.
She's like, that's the whole language, and I think
I gotta believe that I brought some of it on myself with like trying too hard to be liked, and just
But this is what you're not getting, Trevor. And I
Okay.
agree with you. I do the same thing. Sometimes I try too hard. I try to fit in. And for me, it usually happens in Black culture because being mixed, I'm an outsider in Black culture. And then being mixed and autistic and a nerd kind, I'm definitely an outlier when it comes to being the cool Black culture of hip hop and, drugs and money and bitches, right? So we get in front of all these big pimping, drug money, gangster, I've got street cred motherfuckers. And I find myself trying to fit in, like you said, right? And they
Yeah.
know I'm trying to fit in. Now, in your case, this may not be as deadly or as noticeable, right? Or as have the physical consequences that mine does. They know what I'm doing. They know I don't fit in. And so they'll try to have you try drugs, hit on a woman, talk shit to somebody to prove a point. And they know it's not going to go well. And they laugh at you. They're gaslighting you. You're telling me that people knew you'd probably try to fit in or you're going to get all wound up. So they know that. And then they'd put you in a situation and spin you like a top and let you go.
If that's news to me, if that's what the situation was.
Oh, it was. You can't tell me you if you know it, if you know that you were trying to fit in college, trust me, there's some prick in the drama program that was like, I bet you Trevor's
Well,
gonna try.
I'm assuming that, I mean, I'm not good at hiding intention. Just ask any girl I've been friends with in my life. Well, not every girl.
I was gonna say, Janejira, did he hit on you too? No.
No.
Bold of you to assume I can pick up social cues, bro.
She's like, I don't know. Did he?
Well, I mean, she's what, half my age, and I'm sorry, they are half my age.
It is.
Huh?
It is whatever.
Yeah. So, and two, they identify as sorry, what do you identify as again?
I'm gender fluid, but sometimes
Okay.
I wake up and it's like I am too tired to pick a gender today. I do not care, and everyone's like, which is it? And I'm like, I don't know, like flip a coin.
Hey, there
I
was
don't
one
get
day.
it.
Either way, what
She was a hot
I'm
dude.
saying is,
Yeah.
basically what I'm saying is, I know not to, with Janejira, she's a friend. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad we set some boundaries on the show. Trevor's like, I'm not hitting on her. I was not going.
Well,
Letting you
sometimes like I get misconstrued as hitting on people. Like I'm the type of guy who likes to compliment people to make them feel better, and sometimes that can be misunderstood. And that's what happens to me. But I
don't think that's it at all. I think there's a level of let me not saying that can't be it, but I think sometimes what it is there's a level of discomfort people have in receiving compliments from people they're not attracted to.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's also part of it.
Right.
Even I'm like, depending on the person, I'm not good at receiving compliments. Like if I sing or something and someone tells me that they, I'm like, I'm thank you. Like, I don't know what to say. I'm kind of like, I'm frozen.
When people tell me you have good hair, and I'm like, maybe it's Maybelline. Like, I don't know. I was born with it. What do you?
Yeah, I mean,
your brain just error 404 crashes for a second, and you're like, what are words? I forgot how to word.
Yeah, like it's such an alien concept, foreign concept to me that I have to reboot my system. It's like I tried turning it off and then on again. Like I have to.
Did you hit Control Alt Delete? Did you reboot?
And you try to react without making them feel uncomfortable about your reaction. So it's like, thank you, and you kind of figure out a way to get out of the situation.
I'm Soup Man. I don't know if you've noticed, but I go by Soup Man, right? And people be like, "You're dressed so fancy. Where are you going?" And I'm usually a prick, and I'm like, "Nowhere.
I'm here already."
And Janejira see me do it where they're like, "Well, why are you wearing a suit?" I don't know. Why are you wearing sweats? What the fuck's that supposed to mean? I don't know. what the fuck is it supposed to, what's it supposed to mean that I'm wearing a suit? You know, like what what is the correlation?
It's like, somebody tell me what it means, because I don't know. I just showed up.
Right. So
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I just never really like my emotions could be intense, and that's another reason they could probably misconstrue things I say. But yeah, like with compliments, it's like, okay, I know this interaction has to be short, but they just want to compliment me and walk away. How do I react? Where if I walk away, I'm thinking, okay, that went well, without, you don't want to come off like a prick, making it sound like you think they're weird for saying that to you. So I try to just like,
you don't seem like you're Asperger's. Hey, you're not deaf. You talk perfectly. You hear everything I say. No, I don't. I'm not.
yeah. Well, I mean, I just learned this saying this year. It's like, you meet one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. It's such a wide spectrum. And going on that, sometimes I do like think sometimes that maybe I don't. Am I not acting Asperger's-y or autistic enough or something like that? And you think, wait, I'm acting too normal to be, so you end up second guessing. And I think that's one of the things I need to stop doing and just accept it. This is who I am.
I love the way I'm like, I don't know how you could second guess it. And you're like, no, I can't. And that's what I've done to people too. Like, I'm not Asperger's, and other people are like, are you serious, bro? Like,
have you looked in a mirror?
Yeah.
It depends on your day, right? Or what you consider you're like, no, this is just normal for me. And everybody's like, your baseline on normal is off. Therefore, that's why you are.
Then I read the symptoms of it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's still me.
Yeah.
We're not all Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory,
But we are. You have some similarities. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Am I not hiding it well?
No, not at all. Not at all. You may not think so, but I can see it. I'm not gonna tell you how.
That's the funny thing about autistic people meeting each other. It's like we see it in each other, and then in ourselves, it's like, what? Me? What are you talking about?
It's amazing how, since I've been diagnosed, my awareness has expanded. Like, and my self-awareness and self-awareness as well is like how I'm interacting. I'm like, wait a minute, is am I doing this correctly? What am I supposed to say in this situation? Is this part of my diagnosis? Like, it's fascinating because we have this brain and this way of thinking that's completely unique. We're not wired like most people. I find it kind of fascinating, the whole idea of it, because you think, wow, this just means that this has been my completely differently wired brain my whole life. But do you ever go back and wonder, like, was there something that triggered it? Or, I just accept it, that it's just been since birth.
So, Janejira, you go first, because it's funny. We used to do a segment on our show. We'd be like, "Do you have a question for us?" And I was gonna ask you that today. So we'll take that as your question. You beat me to the punchline. That was kind of fucking sexy. Good job. I was literally just thinking, I'm gonna ask him, does he have a question for us? So you answer, Janejira. Were you born autistic? Did something break? What do you think happened?
I'm like 1,000,000% sure I was like born autistic, because I've just been how I am forever, and then like going into the world and going to like preschool and just going to public school in general. I was not part of like any special ed program of any kind, because my mom specifically didn't want to just tell anybody that I was not like other girls. So I was like, all right, I am built like the normies. And then they didn't want nothing to do with me, and I couldn't relate to half of them. And I was like, I'm not built like these people. Something's a little bit different. Why am I more awesome and different than everybody else? This is kind of weird. I don't understand.
More
And then
awesome. Is that the word everybody else used? But go ahead. Yeah, go
well,
ahead.
yeah,
Aggravating.
because I'm out here like I'm finishing my assignments early. I'm like doing 50 million hobbies at the same time. I'm
Yeah,
teaching
fuck
myself
you,
stuff for no
Janejira.
reason. And everyone's like, how do you do that? And I'm like, is this not the thing that everyone just does? Everyone does 50 things on a Tuesday. What are you saying right now? I don't get it. And then like I learned what autism is and stuff, and I was like, well, duh, no wonder I've been different this whole time. And like I was trying to get a diagnosis, and my sisters are like, well, why would you want that? Like, why would you want to be autistic? And it's like, I don't want to be nothing. I just want answers for why I'm so different, why I'm built different. Like, why am I this way? Just give me an answer so I can be like, oh, I'm built this way, so that I can stop like trying to mold myself to be like everyone else and think something's wrong if I'm not, because it's exhausting
It is.
trying to fit in with these normies. It's like, what do you mean? Like I have to deal with fluorescent lights on a regular basis without crying. Are you people insane? Like, why? I don't get it. And
And
then and then I
yeah.
met other autistic people, and it's like, oh duh. If I knew that the whole time, then it would have been like, oh, that's why lights suck.
Yeah. Well, backing on what you said, it's when I was diagnosed, I wanted to know. I wanted to, get a diagnosis, whether I was or not, because I wanted the pieces to fall into place, something to make sense.
Exactly.
And so I wasn't dreading it. I wasn't dreading if I was going in knowing that I would probably hear that I was autistic. And I wasn't dreading it. I wasn't like depressed because of it. I was actually very relieved because things started making sense now.
Yeah, and you have that closure.
The closure and the clarity. And I was probably born with it. Because I think back to my childhood and I think back to my behaviors and incidences in my childhood, and it's like, that makes sense now. This makes sense now. This all fits into this. So it was a relief to get a diagnosis. Some people probably dread hearing that they're autistic, like it's some kind of handicap or something that'll keep them from living a life. But I was so relieved and so happy that I could finally put a name to my quirk. I was like, maybe I just have bad social skills. Maybe I just didn't, take the right social classes in school. But I got diagnosed. I'm like, okay, now everything makes sense. And I'm glad I had a therapist that agreed with me and supported me in wanting to get a diagnosis, because I asked others before and they said, no, you don't need it. You don't have Asperger's. No.
I hate that so much when people are like, no, you don't have this thing. It's like, I have a reason for thinking I have this thing. Thank you very much. Like, can you work with me instead of against me?
It was this one guy I asked at this little community mental health clinic. I think in Everett or something. I saw him one time and that was it. And I was like, well, if you're going to just be so flippant about it, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
So, and it was just a relief to find someone who was supportive. And, it took forever though to get seen for it. It was like a year wait list.
Ew.
Yeah. So
he's like, yeah, that's bullshit.
that's Medicaid for you, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the services. For me, I'm with Janejira. It's like, you got to be born with it. Like, it's not. I don't know. There is the idea that people can be mentally conditioned, and I think some kids are trained to be Asperger's. I think some kids are trained to be certain diagnosis, And what I mean by that is the way their parents treat them or enable them, right?
Yeah.
It's them the idea that they're ODD. Johnny's not ODD. He's just a spoiled little bastard who needs ass whooping. I've seen that, right? Like, just whoop his butt. No, we're not scared of you, Riley. Sit down, shut up, put the knife down. Nobody's scared, right? But then I've also seen the other side where, yeah, Riley is a bad kid and he needs the help and he needs the support and he's definitely ODD, right? But I think when you're there's what I would say to what you're saying is I don't think there's an event in your life that makes you one way or the other, but I think there can be an educator in your life that chooses what path you're on. And what I mean by that is there's a small line between mental health disorder and behavioral disorder.
Uh-huh.
And depending on who your educator are, who your advocate is, who your counselor is, who, like you said, your therapist is, and what they're advocating for, you may be down the road of being a behavioral health patient or being a mental health patient. So I think for a lot of children, especially depending on how, if they're in public school, private school, and their support system at home, yeah, there is that moment in life that chooses their diagnoses for them. And unfortunately, I don't know if you know this, but usually the kids of color that are getting sent to the behavioral disorder as opposed to the mental health disorder. That's just the facts, the numbers. That's not a perception. That's the truth. Every damn system, every school district's telling us that
Well, the
sending
system,
kids to that.
unfortunately, is stacked against them.
And so
Yeah.
that's where I don't know if it's by choice. For a lot of kids, it's there is that moment they get the teacher. They get the teacher that's tired of their shit, tired of their stuff. It's like, look here, Janejira, great, you have A's and all that, but you're not socially okay. You're immature. All you do is doodle all the time. You're in 8th grade. You shouldn't be doodling, Janejira. You need to grow up. So we're going to recommend this class for you. Well, there's nothing wrong with Janejira. She just wants to be an artist, right, Janejira?
Yeah.
Right? Or like with you, Trevor. Hey, Trevor's getting emotional all the time. And it's not that he's immature or anything, but Trevor, you're just always getting worked up and losing your shit in class when somebody says you're wrong. So we're going to send you to behavioral health classes instead of mental health classes.
Yeah.
That one teacher changes your whole projection, right? And if you're getting worked up all the time and then you get sent some behavioral disorders and you get a teacher who doesn't like Trevor or his attitude, and he's fucking with you all the time, because I don't know if you've noticed, but I've seen teachers mess with these mental health kids.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so that's why we talked earlier about them. It's not like prison. Well, it is. If you've seen them manipulating these kids, it kind of is like prison.
They'll target them. No doubt.
This game 360 is like, well, yeah, I mean, maybe you got a point. But so it's one of those where.
No, I'm talking even like in like public schools.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they'll single that kid out and they'll just find any excuse to punish the kid or say he's a bad kid.
Bingo. And that's what I think. I think that's when you ask me, is there a moment in your life, or are you born with it? I think that there's more of that per se than a moment in your life when you change. I think there's a moment in your life where an educator puts you in a different category or puts you on a different projection, and that professional opinion, which is bogus because teachers aren't. Never mind. You tell me that I'd love to say most teachers aren't professionals, because just because you got a teaching certificate, which takes less time than a master's, doesn't make you professional in anything. But most of these professionals, once they put that label on you, the next teacher gets your file and automatically reads, well, Trevor's difficult. He made it through 3rd grade.
Well, it's like when a doctor writes in your file and the next doctor gets it. Patient is difficult. So the doctor automatically has this snap judgment of you that might not even be true. So I think you're on the right track with that.
And unfortunately, I think that happens more than most. And like you said, you're in Medicaid, right? So
yeah.
Depending on what your medical coverage is, whether you've got that PPO, the HMO, if you're on Medicaid, I definitely feel that way. And I had a tooth pulled the other day because I don't have a good dentist. Fucker just pulled up, wrenched on my mouth, was pushing on my face to pull the tooth out. I've never had somebody push on my face before. Like this fucker was leaning on me, and I was like,
Yeah. I
that
mean,
doesn't seem right. That seems like the Medicaid approach. Like you're not all right. And if they're doing
have you seen the Medicaid dental clinics, like the Medicaid approved dental clinics?
Yeah.
If you can even find one.
I go to one. It reminds me of what was the movie where the guy had to get his eyes installed or get his eyes and the place was nasty and he had a sandwich to eat.
Minority Report?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Minority Report.
Minority Report, right?
Yeah.
He's like, don't worry, I'll put these eyes in good. And I was like, I don't think this is sanitary at all. Like,
I wonder if it's the same. I wonder if it's the same dental place.
Yeah, exactly. Like that is make sure you eat the right sandwich and he eats the wrong one. Like that's how a lot of these places go. Like I feel the same about free places that give out like free abortions. They're very similar. Right? Well, let me ask you. You said you do a lot of acting. What's some of your bigger projects? Would we know of them? How would we find them? Can we see?
I guarantee you've never seen these. Like I did mostly short films at Shoreline, a couple plays at Shoreline. I did a really, really, really low budget exploitation film called Punch back in 2008. And the only copy you can find is at Scarecrow Video.
The Scarecrow Video, is that a site? Or is that
No,
like
that's a video store.
You've never heard of Scarecrow Video?
Hey, look, you don't know anything about sports, dude. Don't do that to me. Don't. I'm just fucking with you. No, I don't know anything about Scarecrow Video. What is Scarecrow Video?
It's the greatest video store in the world. They pretty much have everything
Seattle.
you can think. Yeah, they pretty much have everything you can think of.
2 girls, 1 cup. They got that.
Ew.
I'm just joking.
Wow.
They probably do if you look hard enough.
No, don't look. All our viewers, do not look for 2 girls and 1 cup. Do not do that to yourselves. I'm sorry. I've put that back into the universe.
How dare.
Do you have are any of these works online? I just got a YouTube link. What did Janejira? She sent me a YouTube, The Bad Religion.
That's the movie that he was in.
Oh, that's the
where we
movie I
met,
did.
so-
Yeah.
Yeah, I found it.
Oh god.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing next. I'm watching a little Janejira and Trevor in a movie. How long's the movie?
Not that long. I wasn't in it. I did do the monk costume though, fun fact. I think I was doing assistant directing on that one.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I know
The hardest part about doing that film was talking to the people who own the monastery,
Oh yeah.
who were like,
They did not want to be named.
They were making sure that we weren't like inappropriate or anything like that in the monastery.
When you watch it, it'll make sense, and you'll be like, "Yeah, they don't want to associate with this."
Yeah, it was a.
I love how you're like, well, if you watch it, you'll understand why they said. Was it bad acting, bad script, bad plot, or all the above?
Well, no, it's because it depicts the monk in a little bit of an unholy light. So they were like, we love it and it's funny, but we don't want to say we support it.
I mean, kind of like the Catholic Church and pastors, like we love them, but we don't want to say we support them, like that. It's bad religion. Was it a horror movie?
No, it's a
comedy for sure.
Yeah.
It's a comedy?
Yeah.
Oh my. And you're local. I'm and kind of off topic, but I'm trying to start a sketch group, trying to get people together to do short sketches. So we'll talk later, Trevor. We'll try to get you in something. Well, let me ask you, we're getting to the end of the road. We've made it. I know it doesn't seem like it, but it's been almost an hour. We've been like 58 minutes. It just flies by somehow. It's Janejira's turn. She gets to do her 3 questions. She gets to do her favorite part of the show. So it ready?
Is the lightning round, the best part of the show.
Are these questions you couldn't have asked me on Messenger?
Yes, absolutely.
No, we don't warn you. So go ahead. Tell
lightning. Okay. So we asked 3 very silly, super awesome, cool questions, and then 3 kind of like slightly more serious, autism related, just like deep questions that'll make you think. And then you just answer them and have a great time. First, I will start with the most important question of them all. What is your favorite dinosaur?
I gotta go with the Brachiosaurus.
Yes.
That's the one with the long,
The long boys.
yeah, the
It
long
could be
neck.
the Brachiosaurus, Apatosaurus, Ultrasaurus. There's many names, but go ahead. Yes.
And just I like any dinosaur that can sneeze on someone.
That is pretty funny.
Yeah.
I like how he took the interpretation of a movie and made that part of why. A serious question. I always ask the serious ones. I hate this. If I'm a serious person, if there's one thing you could change about the perception of autism, what would you have it be?
The stereotype that we're all super intelligent, that were these like mad science geniuses who because I sucked in high school.
Yeah, I failed
Yeah.
math like 4 times.
Yeah, I was like C+ at best in high school, and I never went to like a 4-year. I just went to like community college, and you don't exactly have to get accepted to go to those. But when people think autism, they think, oh, they're like they're like a Rain Man savant type of person.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Yeah.
You sound like Janejira's like, I know everybody thinks I'm good at math. It's all right. I understand. Janejira, your turn.
If I had the ability to just like look at an item and be like, oh, there's 57 of those, I would have been so much better at finances. The next fun question. If you could go to vacation anywhere in the world, it's paid for by somebody else. You don't got to worry about it. You got time off. Don't worry about it. Everything's great. Where would you go?
New York City.
Nice. Why?
Broadway.
That makes sense.
I love musicals. Musicals are one of my absolute favorite things in the world.
Ooh.
And I've always wanted to see New York. I've always wanted to see downtown Manhattan, Broadway at night when all the signs are lit up and stuff like that. I want to try a slice of New York pizza, go to an actual New York deli.
Get some fresh prosciutto. I'm glad you said that. My fat ass heard you. Was like, I want a deli sandwich.
Some nice gabagool.
Yeah, right. A nice, what is it? A spicy beef? Isn't that the other one they make? That's just a beef and oil.
Well, there's this place called Katz's Deli that makes sandwiches that are like that big, like that thick.
Yep.
Of pastrami and all that stuff, and that I'm like, that's just. Ooh. And plus I want to go to all the tourist crap they have downtown, like the M&M store and shit like that.
Yes.
I'd love to. I'd love to go to a Saturday Night Live taping. Hopefully get noticed by Lorne Michaels and.
Wouldn't we all? I'm supposed to be the next weekend update. We'll do one more. I'll do a funny question because I don't want to do the last serious one.
Why?
Well, we
gotta take turns.
We gotta take turns. Yeah, we role play around here. Da, da, da! A fun question. What's your funniest Asperger's moment? Like, do you have a moment where you're like, yep, that's the Asperger's?
I honestly don't know. I mean, there have probably been many times where I've said something unintentionally weird to someone that wasn't the intent. But I really can't think of anything off the top of my head that I have that was like an Asperger's moment.
I just got a new question. I just dumped him. Dun, dun, dun. Serious question, Jane. You get the last one.
Yes. Okay. I think this is going to be a good one. If you had the ability to change the way the acting industry and like film industry and everything treated autistic people on set, what are the changes that you would make and just like put into the world?
Well, I mean, of course, I would have them to make it more accessible, a more comfortable area for
Mm-hmm.
someone with autism to be in. Uh, if someone's like sensitive to very bright light, maybe turn the set lights down a little bit,
Yeah, dim
or if the
lighting.
noise is too much, or have an area they can sit in, a quiet area where they can calm down, like be accessible, be very, accommodating to people who need it. Like,
Yeah.
I would imagine on like a big budget film set, it could be very overwhelming and overstimulating, and someone with autism would need a place to relax, calm down, and decompress.
Yeah.
And I think that would be really helpful in the industry.
Yeah.
And also,
I think for the film that
I
you were
think,
working on, like an intimacy coordinator would like helped better with that because some people don't even know that's a thing. Like that's literally the whole point to make sure that actors are comfortable.
well, I would like Hollywood to, I mean, actors should know how to talk to someone who's on the spectrum, or be aware of someone who might be a little different interacting with them, and not take it a bad way. That, let them know that there's going to be someone on the set. Sometimes they might say something a little, off, or sometimes they may act a little weird, but that's what they are. I think everybody should have an understanding of, of what autism entails, what some people have, and some of the, quirks. That's what I would change. Because there really does need to be more accessibility, more accommodations, and more understanding in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Man, we need that for everything. I think that's a great place to wrap it up. You gave a great, soft, warm, felt answer. We need to start accommodating for motherfuckers. Well, is there anything you want them to find you on? Is there anything special you want them to know?
Uh, um, you can find me on Twitter, that dumpster fire, at Bad Vertigo. Same with on Instagram. I don't really. Most of my Twitter is just, bitching at extreme right wing people and intolerant jackoffs. So I kind of just put them in their place, and they never probably see them anyway. So, but it feels good to put it out into the world, and you try to phrase it so as not to get Twitter arrested or put in Twitter jail for however long.
And I'm on the other end. I'm not on any of them motherfuckers. I'm barely on Instagram.
You're smart. You're a smart guy. That shit's toxic, man. And sometimes you're just too far gone, and you kind of have to. It's like, well, shit, I can't do anything about it now. I got too many people on here that I know that I don't want to lose contact with.
I guess that's the thing is for me is usually I want to have a physical confrontation. I'm not allowed to on social media. And so I find myself getting wound up with nowhere to spend that energy. So
I won't fuck with you.
He's like, I live in Seattle. This fucker might find me.
We live in Seattle. We have enough
crazy
people. Yeah, enough crazy people. I mean, just look at the place I work at. We got crazy people all over. Like,
oh
fucking
my god, yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on, Trevor. It's been a bass, Trevor Gumbel, everybody. Sorry, I can't talk over my words or get past my tongue this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Trevor Gumbel, everybody. Give it up for our co-host, the one, the only, with Miss Broccoli or Mr. Broccoli. I don't know.
Mr. Broccoli.
Potato chip enthusiast. I've been the host
Yes.
with the most. Give it up for me, Duante Superman Barnett. This has been another episode of Autastic Artists. Like we said, and Trevor ended on, let's do our best to try to make accommodations for those people in our life who may have some mental health issues, mental health disabilities, and just try to give them some accommodations, make them feel warm, and respect everybody's feelings. Have a great day, and thank you for tuning in, everybody. Woohoo!